Class, is that you? Oh, it's so good to see you. Happy Friday, everybody. I am here to tell you all about my experience as a dishwasher. So I got your questions all set up over here, and let's go through them. So, surprise, it's me. First question. How many years have you been washing dishes for? What restaurant do you work at? So I worked at my college. I was a dishwasher in college. So I went to the University of Dayton, go Flyers, and I did that for a couple of years. After going to classes, I would spend a few hours every week washing dishes at one of the dining halls. So it was a new dining hall that was built by my dorm, so I got a job there, and I worked there for a couple of years. What training did you get? How did you know you wanted to do it? Well, so I knew I wanted to do that job because it was close to my dorm, so I could walk there. It was a good job to make money on campus, and I like food, so I like being in the kitchen and like kind of seeing the people in the dining hall and how that worked out, and just being around that. You do have to get a lot of training for that job. There's a lot of safety training, and we'll talk about that a little bit. There's some training about the different equipment that you have to use, things like that. There's training just about in general working there, your hours, your breaks, paperwork, that kind of stuff. How many hours did you work, part-time or full-time, and when did you work? I worked part-time because I was still going to school, so I was taking classes, and then I was working in the dining hall as a dishwasher. I was doing about, I think I was 10 to 15 hours a week, probably like 12 hours a week normally, depending on how many shifts. And I had, especially when I start off, rough times for my shift. The first year I did it, I had a shift on Friday night from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. So while everybody else in college was out having fun, I was working in the dish room on a Friday night until 1 a.m. until they closed. So that was until they closed. And then I would work the next morning, Saturday morning, same time, but in the morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Up to 1 p.m. So that was kind of tough starting off, but that's how it goes in a lot of jobs. Is sometimes you have to start at the bottom and pay your dues, and then as you keep going, you get better hours, you get a little bit more flexibility in time, to have some more choice in that. Do you work by yourself? Do you work with others? I was on a team. So, I was kind of working by myself. The job I was doing it by myself. But in the dish room, there's a couple other guys. There's usually 3 people. So it'd be me, and the other people I worked with the most was a guy named Sam and a guy named Steve. They were some good guys. So Sam and Steve were both full-time. So since we're working in a college and we're working in a dining hall, there's kind of a mix of students who went to the college who worked there part-time, and then other people who lived in the area who worked there full-time. That was their full-time job. So those are the 2 guys I work with the most, Sam and Steve. They both worked full-time. I worked part-time. But our shifts often overlapped. But they were really good at their job. They had been doing it for a long time, so they were there to help me out since I was new. I hadn't really done it before. And the thing that I'll never forget is, so Sam was kind of a bigger guy. And every time he would walk in the room, Steve would yell out, "Big boy!" And that sticks with me. I don't know why. I thought it was funny. It still is, I guess. But that's kind of a fun thing, is like the working with the different people. And in the dish room especially, you're a little bit in the back of like the restaurant or the dining hall. So you're like a little group just kind of doing your thing. And it is kind of fun. So those guys were kind of fun, and it was nice to get to know them. And then every now and then I get to work with another student that I would see on campus and be like, "Hey, coworkers." So that's fun too. Getting to know people through that job. How does your job change when it's busy? Do you have to work fast? Actually, these two next two are kind of similar. And what about with short staff? Do you move to other areas? So when it's busy, um, yeah, you notice it gets busier. Not so much in the dish room as it does for the people who are working with customers or serving food. That gets a little bit busier because, or it feels busier just because you see all the people coming through and coming and going. You have to interact with them and you're doing different things. In the dish room, it's more, you're just noticing there's a lot of more plates or a lot more dishes to wash now. Um, so then it kind of can build up on you if you're not working quickly, if you're not keeping up to that pace, which you never want to have. Like if you're not moving fast enough and then all of a sudden they're bringing more dirty dishes and you're not cleaning them in time, and then there starts to be a pile building up here of dirty dishes that you're going to have to take care of at some point. So it can happen too where sometimes you need to, or there it's hard to get the dishes cleaned and out back into the room because they need to keep using them. So yeah, when it's that dinner rush or that lunch rush, you need to kind of know how to pick up the pace while still you're doing your job effectively. What about with short staff? Do you move to other areas? There's only one time where I got to move to another area. It was busy, and I guess they scheduled it strangely, so there was too many people in the dish room and they were missing something else. And it was kind of cool because at this was a newer dining hall, and they had one of those like Mongolian barbecue grills, like the circle, the flat one, and they cook your order right there, and then they like put it in. So I got to do that. It was kind of cool. I only got to use the big sword spear things to cut the food and cook it. I only got to do that once because I wasn't very good at it. But instead, the people who were good at it and who had been trained in it and like had some experience would cook the food like that, and then I would come over with a plate and take it and serve it to the customer. So that was kind of fun too, being able to see a different part of it and how it worked, especially since I was like interested in food and things like that. These next couple are about like sanitizing, cleanliness. What are your sanitizing procedures? How often you sanitize? What are your kitchen safety rules? So that was a big part of what we're doing, especially in the dish room where it's like you're the cleaners of the operation, of the dining hall. There's a lot of sanitizing procedures. I remember there was 2 buckets, like with 2 different chemicals in there. There's a red one and a green one, and you had to know which one was for cleaning which surfaces, and there's one for cleaning surfaces like all the machines and the tables and stuff like that, and then there was one for cleaning the floor. So you kind of had to know which one is what is red for, what is green for, and which one's for which. So that was a big part. Every time you had free time, pretty much it was like wipe something down, or if there's a mess, you know how to clean it up. Some of the kitchen safety rules, a lot of kitchen safety rules about, because you're working with things that are hot, you're working with things that are sharp, things that are slippery. Not at this job, but I worked at a different job where I wasn't working in the dish room, but I would spend a lot of time there just passing through at a different school. We had to buy special shoes. So we had to get shoes like this. These are my shoes. I had to get shoes for crews. And they had this special like bottom to it that is slip resistant, it's called. So you have to order them for a special catalog, and they come to you so that you're less likely to slip on the floor because it could be wet and stuff sometimes. So yeah, I still wear these. They're kind of nice shoes. But yeah, there's a lot of kitchen safety things, and that's a part of the training too, is making sure you got all that stuff sorted out. How do you keep dishes from breaking? Have you ever broke one? No, I haven't. Kevin, nice try. That's one of those things you just gotta be careful. I heard someone say this phrase once that I kind of like, that always stuck with me, is sometimes you gotta slow down to speed up. So even when the dishes are piling up, and you're starting to feel a little frantic, like you gotta get them out. If you're going too fast, faster than you can go, and you make a mistake, you might end up breaking one. So instead, it can be better to kind of take your time and go as fast as you can without pushing it too far, so that you can still get it out in time instead of having to waste time cleaning a broken dish, you know. But it does happen. So everyone will be there to help you and support you if that ever happens. How do you wash dishes? What equipment do you use? So there's three in our dish room. There's three positions. There was somebody who would wash by hand in the sink, and that was mostly for like the really dirtier dishes, like broccoli cheddar soup day was always a big one. Nobody wanted to wash that giant pot. It was so gross. Or other like sticky, melty types of foods. When you need a little extra scrubbing and elbow grease, you wash it there. There was somebody who would work at the big machine, which maybe you've seen, where you load up the dishes on the dish rack, you push it through, the machine washes it, and then you take them out on the other end. And once they come out on the other end, there's a third person who's like a runner, and that person will take those clean dishes, put them on a cart, and bring them back out to the restaurant or wherever they're serving food, so that they have more dishes to use and put food on, because they got to kind of run through the same ones. What about drying dishes? This is always something interesting. I always thought there was like a dryer. So if you're the first person you're washing it at the sink, you dry those by hand. If they go through the big machine, it dries them a little bit, but they're always kind of like a little wet when they come out the end, which is always weird to me. And they're also super hot. The guys who work, Sam and Steve, who worked there full time and who had been doing it for a while, would just like grab these dishes and whip them around, no problem. But I was like, I can't even do this. I'm going to burn my hand. So I'd have to go really quick, like grab one and put it here. And then like, I don't even know, take some more time, grab one, put it here. Or sometimes wear gloves or use like a sleeve or something. Or an apron. I had to wear an apron. But I don't know how they did that. They're so hot when they came out of there. Do your hands get pruny or do you wear gloves? I sometimes wore gloves, only for that really. It wasn't like big dishwashing gloves. It was more like the, I don't remember what the word is. Those like doctor-y type gloves, which didn't really help for the heat, but it did help to not get gross stuff on your hands, keep them dry. Is there room for growth? A head dishwasher? Yes, there is. So there's specifically someone who managed the dishwashing room, the dish room. And then there's also someone who managed the whole back of the kitchen. And there's someone who manages the whole kitchen and the restaurant. So there's a lot of different manager. And then there's a lot of different manager positions. And you can get even higher up where you're managing, there's people working in offices there doing numbers and data and things like that. So there's a lot of different room for growth. The guy who was our dish room manager was a full-time employee. He worked there for a few years. So as a part-time worker for me, I wasn't really expecting to move up to head dishwasher, but there were students there who were kind of more in a managerial role. What are the perks? Did you get free food? Yes. When you work a certain amount of hours, I think it was 4 at that place, you get like a lunch break or a snack or something like that. And it's cool working in a restaurant because then you just go out, or in a dining hall, you just go out and grab some food. And it's kind of fun. You can take whatever you want. Do you do dishes at home? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't really like doing dishes, but you saw me at the beginning of this video doing some dishes. You got to do it, one of those things. You got to keep it clean. Cool. That's all these questions. You can ask me more right now in person if you want. But yeah, let's keep going.